Today's episode of the Tavern Chat podcast is brought to you in part by Flipboard. Flipboard is one of those apps that you don't realize you're using it as much as you are until you don't have it. My prior phone, which was a Google Pixel, had it pre-installed. I used it constantly. It was a great place to catch current events, stories of interest, just fun stuff, all in one place. And I changed to an iPhone, and it took me a while to figure out that I was missing something, and what I was missing was Flipboard. So, if you don't have it installed on your phone or tablet, go to flipboard.com and correct that now. Hello, and welcome to the Tavern Chat podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor at the Tenkar's Tavern blog. As some of you may have noticed, episodes now may have sponsorship. So basically what that means is that by the simple act of listening to this podcast, you're helping to support it. Isn't that awesome? What could be simpler than that? Listen to the podcast and you support it. You support all things Tavern. Awesomeness. Quick reminder, today is the last day of November, which means tomorrow is December 1st, which means OSR Christmas is going to be launching for 2018. If you go to the Tenkar's Tavern blog at tenkarstavern.com, you will see a list of gifters, publishers, writers, others that are gifting to the community. You know what? There's more. Yes, we've got more. It's a very generous community that we are a part of, and I can't thank you all. Easiest way to enter is go to Tenkar's Tavern. Pretty much just go daily. Drop in, see if there's a new post up there giving away more stuff for OSR Christmas. Leave a comment, and you're in the mix. You know, we're going to be picking random people. You're going to get free shit. There's nothing. Listen. Free shit is great. Free OSR shit is even better. Really good free shit that's OSR, priceless. It's like one of those, like, what's it? Citibank commercials, Chase commercials, whoever did those commercials. It's like that shit, just better, because it doesn't cost you anything. So, that we got that out of the way. I wanted to talk briefly about languages in D&D, OSR games, and really what I touch on is I'm going to touch on the common tongue today. I'm going to touch on alignment tongues or alignment languages probably later. But I want to address the common tongue because as the game is played, generally speaking, common is assumed that every race that is, demi-human, human, doesn't matter what country, doesn't matter what continent, generally speaking, they all have fluency in the, quote, common tongue. And then you have racial languages, but you don't have a racial languages for humans. Now, look at our world. Look at Europe, okay? Look at Europe. How many languages are spoken in a continent that is, I think, smaller in space than the United States, which, most of North America, Canada, USA speaks English. Mexico obviously speaks Spanish. South America, it's almost all Spanish-speaking, Brazil being the primary exception. But look at Europe. And if you include languages that are dying but not dead, but we got English, French, German, Italian. right? Those are your main languages. Polish, Russian, Ukrainian, right? Romanian, it's one of the Romance languages. Spanish. Then you have languages like uh, Swedish, of course, Flemish, uh, Gaelic, Welsh, and there are others. They're so easy to forget because there are so many of them. So, is there a common tongue for Europe? Yeah, there is a common tongue for Europe. It's called English. But it doesn't mean that if you go to Italy, the common person is speaking the you know English at their dinner table. No, it's maybe the language for business and international business. If you're going to the local grocer and you're Italian and he's Italian, you're not going to be speaking in English. You're going to be speaking in Italian, eh? So why is it that we default to this common tongue idea that the almost like the arrogance that English is spoken everywhere? Part of it is simplicity. You're trying to make it that when your players travel to different areas that there's a common tongue. But and I don't have a problem with that. But I think you got to treat it more realistically and make it similar to the common tongue of Europe. If English is the language of business for Europe, that's fine. But when you go into you go from one country to another, especially if they're long established countries, in your fantasy setting, maybe the default language changes. Yes, you can speak in common, but then it shows that you are not worldly. If you were worldly, you would speak the language of the country you are in. Now, I can say this because I can't speak any language besides English. I have one of those ears that really has a trouble learning a new language. I basically failed Spanish in high school, and yeah, I failed German in college, and then had to basically take it as an adult education course to get my credit in that. So I'm a bad example. I'm an example of the obnoxious American who would go overseas and ask everybody to speak English. Excuse me. But it doesn't have to be that way in your fantasy settings. When your players go to a dwarven enclave, they are not going to be speaking common among themselves. They're going to be speaking dwarvish. And maybe it'll be like those stories that we often hear about the French, who, if you try to talk to them in English, pretend they don't understand the words you are saying when you're in French, or even worse, Quebec. Uh, but that's realistic, though. Why can't you add a? You don't have to add a lot of realism into your fantasy setting to make it feel real. Just let it happen once or twice, and your players maybe the next time it's like, oh, I have an 18 intelligence and I can learn 8 different languages. I want to learn Red Dragon, Dryad, Titan. No, no. Maybe you'll encounter a Red Dragon once in your career, but you're going to be encountering people who speak. I don't know, maybe Flemish or whatever the country next to where your starting area, maybe they speak it. Maybe you should too. Now, here's another thing to think about. If your character doesn't have the capacity to learn another language, they have a subpar intelligence score, maybe they speak their native tongue fairly well, but maybe they speak common really bad. It's where half the stuff they say is really parroting back what they heard directed at them. Again, little things. You, I'm not saying going overboard with it. Language is just one of the aspects of gaming, but a little bit can certainly make for interesting play. Just throwing that out there. Before I forget, if you're in the New York City area on December 2nd, if you know where the Complete Strategist is in Manhattan, and you do know where the Complete is, right? Joe the lawyer, my wife Rach, and myself will be at the Complete Strat at noon. They open at noon. We'll be there shopping probably for 30, 45 minutes, an hour tops. And then we're going to be going to Stout because Rattle and Hum is closed. But Stout supposedly a very nice local pub. It's right across from, well, it's on the block. It's on the other side of the street from the Complete. And come down and join us. We plan on recording an episode of the podcast. What could be more fun than that? I don't know. It's the way I'm spending my Sunday. Shit. Join us. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining in and listening, spending your time with me. I really do appreciate it. Be safe. God bless. Roll your dice well. And I will talk with you all again tomorrow. Later, later.